In Void Rivals number 18 from Image Comics and Skybound, the balance of power shifts when Solila gets a Cybertronian upgrade that could spell disaster for her rivals on the Sacred Ring. What's it all about? Let's find out in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. After reading through Void Rivals number 18, generally speaking, I like what's happening here. It's solid, but it's uneven. Writer Robert Kirkman's approach to juggling multiple threads that all move in the same direction makes the story feel big. It's expansive. You have multiple players all doing different things that feel like they're part of one larger cohesive story. But the only looming target that should bring everybody together, ironically, which is unification, feels so far off. The threads don't feel like they're connected as well as they should be. So you're tracking a lot of little stories, but they don't feel part of a bigger story. Let's break it down into the pros and cons, starting with what's great about Void Rivals number 18. The big developments in this issue, primarily Zertonia's newfound lease on power with the construction of an Energon well, and Solila's upgrade thanks to Zerta, are intriguing enough to get the imagination gears turning for what could happen next. These are big moments. They feel like they're pulling you towards something really huge, something really meaningful and impactful. Action should have consequences that move the characters towards some destination, and you feel that here with these big developments that are really kind of interesting. So what's not great about Void Rivals number 18? The two big developments feel impactful and they feel meaningful, but several of the smaller threads that are going on at the same time do not. Honestly, they feel like distracting fluff. For example, you have a conversation that takes place between Hot Rod and Springer. Their scene is just basically meant to catch up on the current state of affairs at Cybertron, and that scene doesn't appear to have any purpose within the story that's being told within this series. Proximus shows up, and he returns to the throne room, and all he does is saying, oh, okay, it's time for a rest. What is the purpose of showing that? It really doesn't have any pertinence to what's happening in the main plot. And then you have Zealous, who is the leader of the Zertonians. He approaches the Coven, or the High Mothers of Zerta, if you will. He is now a full zealot and convert. That's interesting. The way it's presented is a little weird, but there's no information to tell you what he's meant to do with that or why that's important. In other words, you have two big important developments surrounded by several lesser unimportant developments that read like a lot of filler that's just taking up space, leaving you with a feeling that the issue is sort of uneven and lopsided. Let's switch gears and talk about the art for a second. We have Lorenzo De Felici, and his art style is getting clearer and sharper with each issue. We weren't completely sold on it from issue number 1, but it's definitely improved as time has gone on. De Felici's panel layouts are on point. Compositions present a fair amount of dramatic intensity, which is great, and the character designs are interesting, especially Solila's upgraded look. She gets a cybernetic or cyborg type upgrade that looks pretty spot on for a Transformers environment. That said, the scenes with Zerta would work better if the camera wasn't so close. You get right in on Solila talking with Zerta, but Zerta's this huge Autobot, presumably, from Cybertron, and the close-up just kind of loses that sense of scale and perspective to say, hey, this is a really large character kind of crawling along to a very small character. If it wasn't so close, you'd get a better sense of scale, and that would make the issue feel bigger. But besides that, you get a pretty decent issue overall. Before we get into the details of what happened here, let's recap what happened in Void Rivals number 17. Zerta gave Solila a mission to spread the word of unification to all her peoples, and the Agorians, so everybody on the Sacred Ring. Meanwhile, Derek was threatened with arrest and execution for siding with the Unification rebels. The issue ended with the Cobrala ship following the Quintessence ship to its destination, and Proximus running through soldiers to find Zealous. And that brings us to Void Rivals number 18. Here, things get, I would say, a little bit weirder. Zealous subjugates himself to the Holy Mother for some divine purpose that we don't quite understand just yet. Elsewhere, Proximus returns to the throne room with Ultim for a well-earned rest. That's pretty much it for those two threads. Meanwhile, Derek learns the full extent of the sacred text from his father, and the knowledge that unification could destroy everyone on the Sacred Ring, which is why the kingdoms were kept apart. Derek has doubts about what his father is telling him and what the sacred texts are really explaining, but he goes along with it because he doesn't want anyone to die. In the depths of the Sacred Ring, Zerta activates the Vector Theta AI and tells it to bestow all of Zerta's power to Solila to finish what Zerta started eons ago. The process transforms Solila into an upgraded version of herself. She looks more Cybertronian, more like an Autobot than she does an organic being, complete with mental control of the sacred ring, or at least her ability to interact and move through it. The issue ends with Derek's father ordering him to perform a flyby recon mission to find out what happened to Dalilak since the entire half of the sacred ring has gone radio silent. Suddenly, Solila emerges from the depths of the sacred ring to rejoin her quest for unification with Derek. Let's just say his father isn't too pleased about somebody from the other side of the ring showing up in the middle of the throne room. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Yes, you heard that right. Springer and Hot Rod appear in this issue as temporary guests of the Zertonians, which is the closest the series has gotten to integrating with the larger Transformers story. There's no word what part the Sacred Ring and these characters, Derek and Solila, will play in the future of the Transformers franchise at Image Comics and Skybound, but we'll keep a lookout and let you know if that changes. Final thoughts, what do we think about Void Rivals number 18? It delivers two hugely intriguing developments, specifically Solila's upgrade into a more Cybertronian form, and the shift in the balance of power over to Zertonia. However, those big developments are surrounded by several subplots that are, I would say, less intriguing. Robert Kirkman's script does a fine job juggling the assorted plot threads to keep them present and all moving in the same direction. However, the lesser threads feel unimportant and read like so much filler, so the issue reads as uneven and a bit lopsided. Therefore, Void Rivals number 18 from Image Comics and Skybound earns a 7 out of 10. You know, I kind of like this issue, but I wish it was just a little bit stronger, a little bit more consistently good all the way across all the threads that are happening. But what do you think? Of all the Skybound series related to the interconnected Energon universe, is this one of your favorites? Is Transformers your favorite? Is G.I. Joe your favorite? Let me know in the comments section. So thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more reviews just like this one.